Hello and welcome to the Mission to Millions series. I am so excited to be interviewing an amazing mompreneur, coach, and a friend, Maria Gavriel. Welcome. So excited that you're here. One of my goals is to bring fun back to business, right? And so part of it is starting with our mission, but also just having fun in what we're doing. I know that we're going to talk a lot about that with you and the importance of really doing what you love and making that part of your life. So let me introduce Maria by giving a brief bio on her. Maria Gavriel is a certified business coach causing transformation and rapid business success via purpose-driven businesses. She's also a motivational speaker, award-winning author, and has been featured on media outlets such as NPR, Ariana Huffington's Thrive, Yahoo News, parenting magazines, and is the voice behind mariagavriel.com. With 20 plus years influencing positive change and transformation, Maria continues to support women to break down barriers that have restricted their ability to create the conditions for their best and highest self to emerge. Clients have shared that she's taken their healing and growth to the next level. Amazing testimonials like that she's helped them build a life that was only dreamed of. She's helped them increase their workshop attendance by 300%. Some have said that she's helped them triple their income and many more. So in her free time, Maria enjoys hiking with her family, exploring cultures, and having fun with her lifelong friends. So again, I'm so humbled that I know you personally, that you're my friend, a colleague, and that you are here with me speaking. So welcome. Okay.
Hello, hon. Thank you for having me. I just want to say how grateful I am to be here, how thankful I am, and honored I am to be a part of this beautiful creation that you're doing for all of us. So yeah, I'm excited. Thank you.
Yeah, you're always, when I think of what woman entrepreneur do I know who is really has a powerful mission, who's stepping into the spotlight, and who's really making an impact. You're always like my top go-to. So, all right. So I know that bio didn't really provide a lot of the story behind your story. So I know that you're an entrepreneur now, but I wanted to know what personally inspired you to step up into your greatness and make a bigger impact with your business and what you're doing now.
Yeah. How do we summarize that story? So I think we all have a story that brought us to where we are in the moment, right? And a lot of times that's through adversity. And I have to admit that that's my story. It came through pain and challenges and heartache, and but a lot of lessons. And basically, what that looked like was a couple years back, maybe I think maybe it's 8 years ago now. It feels like a lifetime ago. It feels like another reality almost. But I'm like, yeah, that did happen somewhere in the timeline. But it was a time in my life where I like everything looked good on paper. I was rocking it. I was in the legal field before, and I had gone out and started my own legal business, and it hit six figures in less than a year. And we were going on like 10 vacations a year, and we built our dream home, a greenhouse with my husband, and kids were in private school. Everything looked wonderful outside, right? On paper, it was like checked off, career check, college check, family check, house check, vacations, all those things that we check off. And what was inside though, it was like this emptiness that at the time I didn't understand it. There was like a brewing resentment, and there was also this burnout that was going on in my life. My family started to say I wasn't present with them. You're always go, go, go. And I wanted to succeed, and I was succeeding, but I was failing in every other area of my life. I was definitely failing in my relationships. I was failing in my marriage. And then now my kids are 15, and they recently shared with me that they thought I was a mean mom back then, which now
Wow.
they could articulate. So I was failing in my motherhood too, which in my eyes, I was putting my all into it, but that's not what it's all about. It's not putting your all into your work. It's not putting your all into your relationships, not the way that we think it is anyway. We'll talk about that in a minute. And what started to happen is my health started to fail too. I created, I developed Hashimoto's disease, thyroid autoimmune disease, and before you know it, cut to my family was falling apart. My husband and I were separating, and things were not looking good at all. So I was about to lose everything that I had worked so hard to build because something deeper was missing, and I wasn't aware of it. And so we went through 9 months of heartache. And when I came out of that, that's how I landed where I am today. Like, what really matters and what am I really here to do? And how do I do it? So,
Wow. I mean, so many things, such a powerful story. It took getting sick. Unfortunately, sometimes it's that, that dire, having these really major illness, or sometimes in some cases, death of a partner or family member, to really jolt people out. It's happened with a lot of my clients. To a degree, it's happened with me. But going back to one thing that you mentioned, about women who are high achieving and high performing corporate women. And so I have a
yes.
very similar story, and I was in banking, so similar, very professional field, and just was like, no, this is not aligned with my mission. Once I figured out what my mission was, I was like, no, this is not. So I think this is a very common story, actually. I've been finding it more and more that women have it all on paper, starting with this like badass career. Everyone looks up to them and admires them. And yet they're not happy. They're mean moms. Instead of mean girls, they're mean moms. Or at least as their family sees it, you know.
Yeah.
And so there's, in comes then someone like Maria, who you're a mompreneur and a mompreneur mentor and coach. And
Yeah.
so I'd love to know a little bit more about how you work with women. And I know that for you, it's really big about increasing income and impact while still having the life that they want, while still being a mom, not a mean mom, but having, the motherhood and the partnership, having all of those elements. Would you share a little bit more about that?
Yeah. So something that I was led to, right, again, through all these challenges. And also, that's when I found my first coach, and I realized the importance of having a coach in your life. Saved my life, literally. And some of the things that I started to learn from them and books, and then just from my own journey, was what is it that we really need here as a unit? Yes, our family matters to us, our future, that our children's future matters to us, our careers matter to, all these things matter, right? So how can we be successful in all of this, all these things that matter so much to our heart, and at the same time make an impact with the people that we love, and maybe even in our communities, and maybe even in our future, right? How do we do all of that? And that was a question, like, I think most of us struggle with, like you said, a lot of my clients too. I think it's a struggle of today's woman, especially in like post-pandemic world, where they were inundated with work at home, school at home, life at home. Oh my gosh, like, how do I manage all of this and still have fun, or do what matters most to me and make an impact? Uh, and one of the things that I have to say is a core, like, I really want to share this today, is heart inspired communication. And that is a skill that you develop. The more you do it, the better you get at it. Like, it has its own evolution. And I have found that's how my husband and I got back together. And it was through this heart inspired communication where there was no attachment behind it. We would just share our truth, and we till this day still try to do the best we can with that. And developing certain formulas to actually create a result, an outcome, the outcome that you're committed to as a partnership, that you create together. Like, so the way we do that, there's so many different formulas that I have. So I was like, what exactly will I share today in our short time together? But it's something so simple as clearing our space. And it's something that you and I both know we practice, right? We process through the emotions, the triggers, the first thing that make us either angry or upset or hurt. We all have some sort of response to what we're hearing. whether a kid wants to do something that they're not allowed to do, or whether they're upset with us, whatever it is, process through the trigger first, take a breath, take a minute, walk away from the environment, do whatever it is that you need to do, and then come back and answer from the heart.
Mm.
Um, a really quick tip that I can share today is I just put my hand on my heart. Like if my son says something, Mom, you suck I really wanted to go to this thing today. And I'm like, we can't, we have another commitment, right? And he'll come at me and it's like, are you speaking from your heart? Like, am I about to speak from my heart? I mean, just doing this just reminds us that the head is a servant to the heart. And it just comes, we connect with this space and we communicate from there. So that's how we can make an impact with the people that we love instead of being mean mommy. But that's how we can make an impact with our teams, not just at home and in our relationship, but also in our businesses. Like that is such a core value that I've been teaching. I've been doing so many things. I've started a school. I've had a nonprofit. I've written bills. I have my own business. I have my family, and I only work 3 days a week. How do I make all that possible? How did I go bigger by doing less? But it's actually through the communication, the
Mm.
communication skills. So that's like the first thing I wanted to share today. Heart inspired or heart centered communication is key. And the other part of how do we make an impact and grow our business and grow our families and grow ourselves is through self care. I always say, like, that was the thing that brewed when I look back. That's where most of my resentment came from. I was giving to everything and everyone, my business, my family, my friends, but I wasn't giving to myself. And so the reason these outbursts were coming, or this anger was present, or this emptiness had a lot to do with resentment. And that's because I wasn't giving to myself, I wasn't filling my cup. And so that is huge. Women need that more than ever. I can't say that enough. I'm having a retreat next month, as you know, just to support women in that replenishment. We need that before we move forward. You can't give what you don't have. So those two things, when I was sitting down and thinking about what can I share today, it's that.
Mm. So you said so beautifully about heartfelt communication. And, I usually refer to like mission driven, blah, blah, blah. But like it really comes down to that heart, having heart, being, principle centered and coming and speaking from the heart. And I love that because if you can do that with your family, you can do that with your business, you can do that with clients, you can do that if you're speaking on a stage, you can do that if you're being interviewed. We'll get back to that because I know you mentioned you were on a lot, you've had a lot of media coverage. So, starting with that, and that is, I think authenticity comes to mind. That
So
really
good.
is aligned with your authentic self. And rather than, and like we do business as coaches, we do business in an alternative way. You know, we are heart centered, and bringing that to our communication is so vital and so key. So thank you for bringing that up.
Yeah,
And
definitely.
then the second point about self care, and you mentioned your retreat, and we'll get to that in a bit. That is for moms. I'm not a mom yet, but I already know I'm setting myself up, right? Because I know that it's so easy to get into the business and to get into, and even like making the difference in the world, right? Sometimes that's so action oriented. It's
Yes,
so like masculine in that sense of like do versus just being and allowing and receiving. So absolutely, so
absolutely.
so key for women and entrepreneurs and for mompreneurs even more.
Absolutely. We forget that. We're like natural nurturers, right? We're just like, oh, I want to, whether it's for our friends, whether it's for our parents, whether it's for our clients, and we forget, my gosh, what about us? Yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah,
So I know that we've talked a little bit about creating this, having this kind of, I don't know if balance is the right word, but I wanted to see if you can share a little bit more about um, how can a viewer gain the clarity and the confidence to live the life they were born to live. And that's we were talking about, from before, like your mission and having principle centered. How can they live the life they were born to live
yeah.
without feeling overwhelmed and without missing those moments with our family that matter?
Yeah. So such a good question. So important. So if we trace it back to when I was saying like I was in the legal field and I was doing great, like, oh, I realized real quick, like I can go out there, I can start businesses really easily. I have this like innate thing. Great. It was in the legal field. I thought I was making a difference through the legal field, but what I realized was, am I waking up every day doing something that I love? Right. So going back to what was missing, was my mission, my purpose. This is why I love why you're doing this. It's so important because if you're not waking up every day doing what you love, you're going to burn out. It's not sustainable. It's gonna end at some point. The road ends to that. And if you want to push and keep it going, or you have to for financial reasons, it's going to eat you up. I see it all the time. I saw it personally. I see it professionally. So how do you gain that clarity? What if like you don't know what you're supposed to be doing? Which at the time I didn't. I have my degree in psychology, and but at the time there was no coaching and there was no guidance, and I knew that the experience that I did have with psychology wasn't a good fit for me, and so I went into the legal field, and then I felt even more confused when I was like, oh my god, if I'm not going to do this thing and I'm succeed, how do I even leave the thing that I'm so successful at? And I did enjoy it. It just didn't fill my heart. So there's a real distinction there. It's even beyond enjoying it. Like maybe you're thriving off of the success, but it's got to be deeper than that. And so, how do you connect with your mission? How do you find that purpose if you don't know it? I actually have a questionnaire on my website, and it's mariagavriel.com. It's a questionnaire which I have it there for a reason. It's finding your big why.
Mm.
It's you got to figure out what that is. You're here for a reason. You are. I believe everyone is. And discovering what that is really your first step. And if you don't, you're going to feel that void. Chances are you are. I know I did. Even if you have all the money in the world, it will start to like pull at you. So the way you gain clarity, and I have a lot of questions in that questionnaire, but one, I think the first one is, you know, are you waking up every day and loving what you do? Is it something you're looking forward to? Is it already feeding you before you're even facing that new day? Like, are you like so excited to connect with it? And then another question I always ask is a great way to gain clarity is what would you do for free? Like, what is it that you would go out there and you're like, I don't care if I get paid for this. I can do this all day long and it feeds my soul. that that is the kind of connection you want to follow. That's the breadcrumb. And asking questions like that, I know a lot of people, a lot of times I've had clients. I actually had one client, she was in her 60s, better late than never. She was married to a celebrity. She had everything. I mean, the lifestyle, everything that you think you would want, she had, right? And but she was empty. She had grandkids, she had kids, grandkids. They went off to college, and she was feeling that. And we were working through it, and I was asking her, just go out and volunteer for something. Just go out there and do something that you're enjoying. We don't need to discover your mission yet. We don't need to discover your, like, let go of that. Before you know it, she helped her daughter deliver her third grandchild, and she fell in love with the delivery of a new being. So she discovered it, and she became a doula. And
Oh,
in her like changed her whole life around and discovered it in her 60s. Like that will chase you your whole life. I don't care if you're in your 30s, your 20s, your 60s, or your 70s, your purpose will always call you. And she answered it in her late 60s, and she is, ecstatic and living on purpose. And isn't feeling like she's missing anything. And she's even in a place where she's like, even if I didn't have a dollar in the world, as long as I'm doing this, I'm happy. That right there, that's golden. That's how you connect. That's how you get clarity. So just go out and do something you love, and you may be surprised how you connect with your mission or your purpose.
yeah. And just going and taking a step forward. Because I think some people, from my experience, kind of get stuck. It was like, I have to figure it all out before I move forward. And it's like, no, like what you just said, like follow those, go and lean in to that, and then you'll gain additional clarity in that process.
Yes.
Like it's almost
Amen.
like they people expect, and I've been guilty of this too, right? Like poof, and then all of a sudden, like, okay, I know what I'm gonna do for the rest of my life. Like it doesn't work
Yeah.
like
No.
some
Yeah.
people, yeah, like maybe like the Beethovens and the Mozarts were like, children and they were like really realized that they have this amazing genius.
Yeah.
But we all have our genius, and right, and part of this process of tapping into that and following what we love and continuing in that passion that we continue to gain that, like you said, so beautiful.
Amen. Yeah.
Another thing that was really interesting, when I was coaching artists way back at the beginning of my coaching career, some of them had had already had their corporate careers, were retired, just like your friend who was a doula, your client, and then they created their career, like a new career in the arts, and it was something they were passionate about. So
Yes.
I see that surprisingly a lot. I've seen that in the last, a lot from my experience. So absolutely, it's never too late to
Yeah.
start.
Yeah. Yeah.
Absolutely amazing.
Yeah.
So I know that as entrepreneurs, and especially as purpose driven, as mission driven entrepreneurs, we want to make the most impact. And with that, right, like we want to even like do as much as we can in the
Yeah.
little time that we do have. So I know that you're an expert on this. What are some time saving tips that you want to share that for entrepreneurs to create their most productive day?
Yes.
I think that's a really
Thank you.
juicy one.
Yeah. I love that one. Time saving tips has become like my favorite thing to talk about. I have a program on it. I've been flown to share about it in venues, and it's because I learned it the hard way, but that's even more reason why I love to share it because it's so needed. And it's like, hey, it's not just for me. I learned this stuff. Let me pass it on, right? And um I wanted to go. I think we all have this at one point or another in our lives, we have this like push to go bigger, right? It's just a natural evolution. That's how we've been wired as beings from the beginning of time to evolve for the next thing, take those risks, cross the savannas, right? And go and do more. And I think once you've come to a good place with yourself and your loved ones, then you can go out to your community, then you can go bigger, right? Maybe even global. And how do you do that? I always looked at people and were like, I'm like dying here and I have no time to even eat lunch sometimes. How are these people doing these, like, run 10 companies? How are these beasts doing it with the same amount of time in a day? And I was like, I'm not going to be stopped. I'm going to figure out how to do all the things in my vision and not be stopped by time. And so and also cut my work week, right? 3 days a week because I want playtime. I think it's important to enjoy this journey, not just work it, right? So my other 2 weekdays is just for me. And one of the days is for my hubby too. So, because that's important. So, what is it that I've done? There's so many, and I'm going to be sharing more next week, time saving tips. But just like I wanted to share my favorites and most effective ones. One of them is combining. So, people always ask, like, how did you get to do all these 10 things in one day? How do you have the nonprofit? How do you like run a school? How do you run a business? How do you run a family? Well, I combine things. So I sit there and I actually look at different times, different things that need to be done, and I look at what's a time suck. So let's say driving to me, you don't really need a lot of mental space, or sitting in a waiting room of a doctor's office, or sitting on a grocery line. Yes, you can be present. I like to be present when I wash my dishes and I say I'm grateful for the water and I'm grateful for the food that I'm washing off and the plates that I have, and I do all of that. And then afterwards, I'm like, okay, I'm done. I'm going to combine this now with a call to my team. I'm going to combine this now with a call to, maybe the person that I pass the baton for the school. I combine things with time sucks. Does that make sense?
Yes, yes.
Yeah. So driving, if I want to listen to an audio, right? If I have a training that I want to do, if I want to listen to something that is going to help me develop or upgrade my skill set, I do it while I'm driving. I don't have to be 100% present if I'm alone in the car for a 1 hour drive, right? So combine the things that you want to do with a time suck. So, and anything else that you can do. So another funny thing that I do is sometimes I'm sitting there and I'm watching Netflix with my husband, and I start to get a little like, stiff, and I'll just sit there and start doing planks. It's like, oh, I can tone up right now, so I don't have to sit on that couch, and it doesn't feel comfortable to sit like this anymore. So combine it with something effective that you want to do. This way, you're not like, oh, I don't have a chance to do my planks today. I don't have a chance to do sit ups. Sure, you can, right? So combining is so much fun for me, actually. I listen to meditations when I'm walking, so I'm still getting my exercise in, right? It's stuff like that. So you can become really conscious and weave things together throughout your day. Another really cool one that I do, and this works really well, is crunching. So people know, and this is where communication and boundaries come in. But for example, people at the academy knew that I was not available for a certain time slot. That's where heart-centered communication comes in with your teams, right? And I have many different teams. So each team, the clearer you are with them, they know what the expectation is. So they knew my work hours and they knew my academy hours. Now, any text that came through, even when someone was having an epileptic seizure at the school, I was not the one that was contacted. I had people under my team that had clear responsibilities to answer a call like that. But texts were coming in. The police showed up, the ambulance showed up. I was with a client. I was present to my client call. I was not connecting with the emergency there, right? And so that crunching, I know that I'm going to respond to that epileptic seizure situation at 8 o'clock at night. Everything from that part of my life gets crunched to a 1 hour segment at one part of the day or earlier part of the day. So, coaching clients, very specific timelines, right? During the day, nothing else. My coaches might text me in between. I'm not responding. They know that. I'm doing something else. I'm wearing a different hat. I'm wearing a founder's hat, an advocate hat, a mommy hat. I'm crunching. So I literally see myself wearing this hat. I am not in that role. And everything else that has to do with that other role is being crunched to the side. And guess what? Instead of me like trying to speak to a politician while trying to handle a situation, a bullying moment at school or a client's question, no, I do all of that in about 20-minute time slot. All instead of being distracted and pulled in different directions, right? And drained. So everything has its time and place. You crunch it up. Where is it?
Yeah, that's
And
beautiful.
that's how you can go bigger. Yeah.
It
So
sounds like that heartfelt communication, if done right, it's really helping to set boundaries too. And I always
absolutely.
say boundaries, like boundaries of love. You don't have to do it
Mm,
in a jerky way, right? Or passive aggressive way. But setting boundaries serves you and serves the other person. And so I love that you were talking about the crunching really helps to put things like a fabulous way to like to not get distracted, but get it all done and be super efficient and effective by not distracting by placing boundaries effectively throughout the day so that the time comes for you to do what you need to do in that short little period of time. And you can be super effective and efficient and rigorous.
yeah.
You can be really rigorous with your time during that moment when you dedicate it to that rather than ending your or like distracting and distracting your day with all of these time sucks.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
That
Incredible.
was so helpful during like when everything was shut down. My kids, I was still working in my office. They knew not to come in. I might have been doing a webinar. I might have been doing right. They just clear boundaries. And I'm not wearing my mommy hat now, and there's someone else, there's more tips, but there's someone else that can help you with this. So yeah, so it's really important. That's how you can stay in flow. That's how you can go bigger for sure.
Another thing came to mind, and I had alluded to it a little earlier about you getting this media exposure. And I'd love to know, was that scary? Was that guided? Were you proactive or were people finding you? How did that come about?
Oh my gosh, good question. I think it's you're really good at this too. I would love to hear more from you because you're in that spot, you're in it, and it's beautiful to watch you in it. Uh, a lot of it has come through recommendation. So somebody will say, hey, somebody's looking for someone to write something or to be featured in something, and then my name will be shared with them, which is always really nice because that's smooth and organic. Some situations were me reaching out to, I want to say it was to articles, to like magazine articles. I had reached out to those. And then there was also a time where I had written a book and I did have a publicist. So that publicist was setting a lot of interviews up on, the radio. And I think we did a radio tour for 8 months. So they were setting up. So it's a combination of everything. But was it scary? Yes. It was really, really at first. I would get cotton mouth. It was terrifying. And this is someone I used to be, I danced in Madison Square Garden when I was little. Like I went through a traumatic experience a long time ago. I was assaulted on a train and I was always afraid that that person would find me. So I went into hiding. And even when the publicist was like, you have to create a Facebook page, I was like, no, I don't want to be seen. I think I was the last person on earth to create a Facebook account. And so anyway, I was petrified for so many deeper reasons, and even more reason for us to go in and have tools to do the work, to be able to share what we're meant to share, right? And to follow through on our mission.
Mm-hmm.
It's so important. Yeah.
It, I've seen this time and time again that people get traumatized and then they don't want to be seen. It's it's quite common. And we know that public speaking is also like the greatest fear, right? So on top of everything else, there's that.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
yeah, I think that you hit the nail right there. That this is part of our mission and our purpose is delivering this message and really doing it in a bigger way. And that means doing the inner work that you need to do or that you get to do so that we can move past those traumas. So
Yeah.
that's beautiful. And before we end, I wanted to ask you, what advice would you give your younger Maria self?
Ah, yeah. What advice would I give? That is such a good question, Alexandra. I actually will admit that I want to sit with it. Like I've given myself advice from 10 years ago, but my younger self, I haven't. I love that question. So I will be doing some homework with that. The first thing, so thank you. The first thing that comes to mind is I was I was in a really bad place. I had attempted to take my life, and I didn't think it was worth living. And so if I were to go back to her and talk to her, I would say, my goodness, there's so many people that are going to be thankful. There's so many lives that you're going to change. It's countless lives. And um, you have no idea yet. It's important for you to stick around and have faith, trust in your purpose here, and you'll meet amazing people that are going to help you along the way. And you're definitely one of them, Alexandra. So, yeah,
Mm.
thank you.
Well, I got goosebumps and chills because as you were speaking, what came up for me was that we're part of this series is about making a mission or sharing our mission with hundreds, thousands, even millions. But really, when it comes down to what you were just talking about, sometimes it's just saving one life or just helping one person. It
Mm,
doesn't even have to be about the numbers.
yeah,
That we do the work that we do because of that one person or two or three, but it doesn't have to be about, helping everybody.
yeah, that's
So,
big.
yeah,
Yeah.
wow. And yeah, did you want to say something to that?
I want to add to that, the person that helped me, she helped one person. Yeah, and I love her till this day. Absolutely. One person, and you have no idea how far that will trickle, just helping that one person, for sure.
Yeah, and it actually came to me. I was going to ask, but I was thinking that there was that one person probably that helped you. I don't want
Yeah.
to probe on that, but yes, absolutely. There you
Yeah.
go. That one person, saved a life in that moment. So,
Yeah.
wow. Okay,
Mm.
let's take a breath.
I know.
Thank you so much, Maria, for being here with me today. I always
Mhm.
appreciate you, and we'll definitely need to do this again very soon.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for doing this. Thank you for doing this for me and for all the women. I love you. I appreciate you, and I'm just going to give you a virtual hug.
Virtual hug. Maybe soon in person hug, but
Yes, yes, God willing. Yeah.
alrighty. Mwah.
Okay, friend. Mwah. I'll see you soon. Bye.
For more help growing your visibility and monetizing your brand, go to alexanderfigueredo.com. And if you like this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell for notifications. Thank you.